Swadika. Today we're at the Government House where Prime Minister of Thailand, Apisit Wejchajiwa, has opened its doors to welcome 120 diplomats, representatives from international organizations and also members of the press to take this opportunity to explain to them of the political situation here in Thailand and also to provide assurances on Thailand's reconciliation process and recovery plans to restore confidence once again. To find out more about the details, let's hear what the Prime Minister has said.
Excellencies, ambassadors and members of the diplomatic community, presidents of foreign chambers of commerce, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, allow me to thank all of you for attending this session. I believe that you were given quite a short notice, but your presence here I think is very important as the country moves back to normalcy and we are in the process of rehabilitation and reconciliation, to which I think you could make very vital contributions, and therefore this is a very opportune moment for us to meet and exchange ideas. Let me also take this opportunity to thank all of you, because over the past couple of months there had been many concerns voiced and statements made concerning the political situation, and in particular the situation concerning the protests. Your commitment to non-interference in what are really domestic affairs in our country is very much appreciated. At the same time, your support for a democratic and peaceful resolution to the problems, as well as calls for dialogue, are also very much appreciated by the government and also by me personally. And I can reassure you that during these very difficult months, those were the approaches that we had tried our best to follow through the very, very difficult situation amongst the very strong conflicts and divisions that occurred. And of course, as we look forward in terms of the reconciliation process, your views will be very valuable to our thinking also in trying to achieve peace, stability and prosperity in the country. But let me just take a little bit of your time before I open up the floor to make some initial comments. First of all, on what had been happening, although I know that many of you would have followed the situation closely. What we are doing right now to stabilize the situation and our short-term measures to help and assist those who have been affected by the protests. And then finally, of course, the longer-term plans in terms of reconciliation and reconstruction, if you like. Let me go back to when I first took office. I recall, I think, when I met many of you, that the government wanted to achieve a period of stability and national reconciliation, and that our approach would be one where we would try our best to avoid confrontation, refrain from using violence, and allow all sides to speak. Even today, just as we had hoped when we assumed office, we still hope for democracy to move forward, for reconciliation to be achieved through justice, and for the principle of moderation to be maintained. And through thick and thin, this is what the government had tried to do over the last 1.5 years. Many of you will have been aware that the differences, political or otherwise, the divisions that have occurred, had roots that existed long before this government assumed office. But over the last 1.5 years, despite situations which are very, very sensitive and hard to handle, the government has always maintained that we wanted to solve everything through democratic means. Many people have offered solutions. For instance, on the issue of constitutional amendments, the government had agreed to holding a referendum on some of the key points that have been agreed upon by a parliamentary commission. But time and again we were disappointed that the opposition parties were the ones that called off any possible agreement. Likewise, when the protests began in mid-March as peaceful protests, we tried our best to avoid confrontation. And again, if you can recall, by the end of March, I personally sat down with the leaders of the protests to try to negotiate a possible resolution. We did that over 5 hours, I think, over 2 days, televised for a national audience, for everybody to see. And on both occasions, again, it was the leaders of the protests who decided to call off those negotiations. And then after April the 10th, it also became clear that while the protests began as peaceful demonstrations, we had a group of people who were armed, who were prepared to use violence against security officers and also against innocent people, which made it extremely difficult for us to deal with the situation. In the end, we were faced with a violent provocation by a few people of the most radical protesters, possibly acting on behalf of the interests of one man. And we had few options. Doing nothing was certainly not an option as far as the government was concerned. After weeks, again, of patient negotiation, which only yielded changing and escalating demands on the side of the protesters, and especially after an offer for an early election, 1 year early, and a 5-point reconciliation plan presented by myself, was superficially accepted by the leaders of the protest, but effectively ignored in the end because they decided not to call off the rallies. It became clear that we could not allow Thailand's political system and economy, and you could argue maybe even the vast majority of the protesters themselves, to be held hostage by extremists with no genuine desire to compromise. We had to take steps to restore law and order, as the prolonged occupation of the Rajprasong area had increasingly disrupted the people's normal life, with worsening impact, of course, on the economy. We intended to achieve this by putting an end to the protests with as little loss as possible. The government regrets the losses that have occurred, and we were dismayed by the readiness of some individuals and groups to use lethal weapons to harm fellow Thais, be they demonstrators, bystanders, security officers, only to worsen the situation and instigate further violence. And from the evidence in terms of video footages taken by local and international media, I think it is now clear that there were armed elements infiltrating among the demonstrators who were prepared to use these weapons indiscriminately, that led to the losses of lives and injuries on both sides. You will have seen photographs and video footages that show tear gas launchers, M67 hand grenades, M79 grenade launchers, AK-47 machine guns, as well as improvised weapons that were used during the last month or so. And when I say armed elements, I know that some of you are still not comfortable with the term terrorist that we have used over this last month. Let me just mention that this definition of terrorist is according to our criminal code, which is in line with the UN Charter, UN Convention, and UN resolutions, and that this definition was put in after the 9/11 event occurred in 2001.